This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan. My guest today is Jenny Boghun. We've been friends for a few years now. We've met once in person. She doesn't live too far from me, but we're both busy people. And this is going to be a two-parter because Jenny just has so much wisdom to share. And it's too much to ask people to listen to all at once. As much as I would love to just chat with her for hours and just absorb everything she has, I'm gonna save you guys from having to listen to us for 2 hours at once anyway. So this is part one. Jenny is she's a homesteader. She has, oh my gosh, she grew up on like a homestead. So she grew up with all of these skills, and she shared with me this article that we're going to get to in another time, called, I think it's like 23 frugal tips that were that came from the Depression or something like that. So she shared that article with me, and she told me when she sent that to me, I learned all of these when I was a kid. And I was like, sold 100%. Let's do it. So the next time we talk, we're going to go through that whole list, and she's going to tell us all about it because it's crazy cool. But so today we're going to talk about being thrifty. We're going to talk about just some life hacks that she's learned, and just absorb a little bit of her wisdom, because she's just so nice and so generous. And she has a farm called Out of My Gourd Farm, and she has a tiny house which she is planning to rent out, and but until this year she's just been escaping to it, and it's so gorgeous and it's so cool. So she's going to tell us about those two things and some other stuff. I'm just going to get to it, but if you love this show, please share it with a friend. If you have any feedback, please send me a message. Feel free to rate and review this. There are lots of places you can do it. Apple, Spotify, you can rate the whole show. If you want to go to Good Pods, you can rate a specific episode. You can make comments. I will comment back because I'm very active on Good Pods. But I'd love to get feedback. If you have anything that you would like to talk about on the podcast, please let me know. If you want to be on the podcast, hey, I'm cool. Let me know. But enjoy this episode with Jenny. I had such a great time. Just a super quick addition. We were trying to figure out the phrase planned obsolescence, and I could not think of it on the spot. So there. Today, my guest is Jenny Boghun. Boghun?
Boghun.
Boghun. And Jenny and I have met in person once, but we've been Facebook and Instagram friends for a few years. She actually was the first person that I invited to be on the podcast like 2.5 years ago. And we're finally getting around to this. But Jenny, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so excited to share all of this stuff that I've been gaining from you.
Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you for having me.
So Jenny lives not too far from me. Jenny has a farm, and your farm is called,
Out of my gourd farm.
thank you, Out of My Gourd Farm. And you have a tiny house.
I do. It's called 207 Tiny House.
And this is the year that you are going to plan to start renting that. So
That's
people
right.
take note. They're in Woolwich. It's beautiful. And the tiny house is adorable. And I'm gonna let her tell us about that. But so, Jenny, you are actually from New York, right?
That is correct.
And you
Yeah.
ended up in Woolwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were a realtor.
I actually wasn't a realtor. I actually was the assistant of a woman who was a realtor who owned her own company. And I was kind of just her right hand person. And I was lucky enough that she helped me find this beautiful property.
Cool. Oh, so you were working for her, and then she helped you to find that, and now
Yes,
you're a farmer. But you grew up. You grew up with a lot of these homesteading skills because I remember
I
you had
certainly
posted
did.
this article that I definitely want to touch on, and
Yeah.
maybe we just need to do a whole separate chat. But you sent this article that is, it says 23 frugal tips from the Great Depression that you need to know, and you said you know all 23 of those, and you
I
learned them from your
did.
grandparents or your parents.
Well, my father was born in 1928. He's 95 years old. He's still alive and he's really healthy and doing well. And it was just something we did because it's something he always did. It was just the way we lived our life and our lifestyle. We lived with my grandparents at one time, and back then it was a real melting pot of multi generations, all trying to do the same thing and just trying to live their life simply,
Mm,
frugally, but with so much more enjoyment than I believe we have today. And so I took a lot of those skills that I didn't even know were skills and just really passed them on to my own children as well. And also try to teach neighborhood children how to do that. One year I held a sewing class and during the summer, and I taught, the whole neighborhood how to sew. And those are basic skills that I think have just been forgotten for many generations. We either throw things out, we take them in to be repaired and spend a lot of money. And I really wanted to give those same gifts that my own parents and grandparents taught me back to my family and to my neighbors.
right. I mean, really, if you're going with that whole like fast fashion or you buy cheap things that don't last, you're really spending a ton more money because you're
Yeah.
constantly putting money into clothes or furniture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I need a sewing class because I am afraid of my sewing machine and I think I broke it.
Well, you come on over and I will give you a sewing
I
class.
will do that. I will do that. But so tell us about the farm first. So Out of My Gourd Farm, why? What's the significance of gourds and what are you doing with the gourds?
Sure. Well, we love pumpkins, we love gourds, and we're a little bit crazy. So when we moved to the property, we knew that gourds were one of the biggest things we wanted to do. So we started growing gourds. And for the most part, we've been giving them away for many, many years. And this year, we're going to be setting up a farm stand. And once the farm stand's done, we're going to be selling gourds for people for crafts, but we'll be making bird houses. And we just really kind of want to share that we love that the birds, love the gourds, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that's really wonderful about our farm is we are just inundated by bluebirds here. And so we just want to be able to give a little bit that back to the community as well.
Hmm. That's such a, oh my gosh, that would be such a fun gathering, like to
Mm-hmm.
use all of your hollowed out gourds. You have to hollow them out or do they just dry out and they're hollow?
It takes a little long process. So the gourds that we grew last year are actually still in the drying process. So all winter long, they sit on huge screens, they're dried out. Then once they're dried out, they have to be put in bleach water because the outside of them is really toxic. Then we cut holes in them and then we hollow out and get in there with a special tool and get everything out of them.
Ooh, they're toxic. I was thinking
Yes.
because they were like moist and they would get moldy. It's not that at all.
It is, well, it is a mold, and the mold is very toxic. So that's why you want to kind of scrape that off, put them in bleach, get rid of all that on the outside.
Okay. And so they're called birdhouse gourds. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're Martin birdhouse gourd, yes.
Martin
But
birdhouse?
yeah, so Martin birds, those are a particular type of bird.
Oh, Martin bird. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the good thing about it is we're selling all sorts of different gourds. So we have long neck gourds, we have large bucket gourds. So this year we're experimenting with loofah, which we've never done in the past. I make my own soap, and we're going to be doing loofah with soap and incorporating that together.
Awesome. Awesome. That's very cool. And so, I mean, like I was thinking of having you were saying to have people over, like doing like a paint night for the
Yeah,
gourds.
yeah,
Um, and that would be super fun. And then you can gift them, and that would be just super personalized. That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah,
And oh, the soaps with the loofah gourd. That's super cool. I've
yeah,
had I've had that before, and it's very cool that you can like exfoliate while you're washing. You don't need
exactly.
extra parts.
Yeah, yeah,
That's fun. Um, that's amazing. That's amazing. And so the you're out of your gourd because you're crazy and
yep.
because you just decided to grow lots of gourds, but you grow other things because you use the what is it called? Herga culture?
It is called culture, and it's from Germany. And it's a method of using rotting logs, twigs, um, leaf mold, grass, and you build it up. And over in Germany, they just do it in big long rows. We here actually build um, raised beds,
Hmm.
and we build that in the raised bed. And then it's really great because you don't have to water as often because it starts to sustain itself and it feeds itself. And we've had really wonderful success. We've been doing that for about 10 years here. And it is unbelievable and how many fruits and vegetables we actually get off of using this method.
Cool. Oh my gosh. But yeah, you grow lots of stuff. Just gourds are your kind of
Passion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your tiny house is freaking adorable.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And it's called 207 Tiny House. And why did you put a tiny house on your property?
Well, growing up, we are treehouse families. So everybody in my family, we've always had tree houses. And when I was a little girl, I always knew I wanted to grow up and have a big girl tree house. And so one of the very first things when we bought the property and we walked it, we have an amazing 60-foot piece of granite that comes out of our ground and is about 30 feet up off the ground at one end of it. And I said to my husband one day, if I ever could have anything, this is where I'd want my tiny house. And my husband said, your dreams will come true. If that's what you want, then that's exactly what we'll do. And so we sat down and we actually designed it for a whole entire year. We just had grid paper. And one day I got in the car and I drove to Whitefield and I found an Amish family who had just moved here. And I showed him my design and he said he could build the structure for me.
Oh my
So
gosh.
what we did was we had him um, build the structure, and he did it in pieces. We hired somebody to bring it here onto our property. I went and picked them up and brought them here, and they completely erected it in 3 days. And then from there, we went ahead and we did all the finished work ourselves.
Of course you did.
Yes. Yeah.
Which says so much. I mean, I've been in your kitchen and I've been in your house and I have not been in your tiny house, but I feel like I have because I've seen so many pictures. But you also, aside from having a tiny house and growing gourds and all this gardening goodness, you are super thrifty.
Yes.
Um, I love that you go to thrift stores and you purchase these big, these pieces of furniture or curtains and you class them up, which is so fun. And so, and you've done that in your tiny house as well. That's
Absolutely. So everything in my tiny house, I remember I was walking down Main Street and there was an antique shop going out of business, and she had a purple mantle that was just laying there in pieces. And I just knew that I had to have that. And so I purchased it from her for really a very small amount of money, but I brought it home. We put it all back together and I painted it up and I put it in my tiny house. And I really love that, the history behind it, that this piece of furniture came from an old home and people sat around it, that hearth, and who knows what they did. Did they read? Did they sew? Did they knit? And just to have a little bit of history in everything we do makes it that much more special.
that mantle's got stories.
Right.
That furniture has stories.
If it could talk,
Right.
right? If it could only talk.
But it's really well made. It's not, what is the saying, everything is outdated. Oh gosh. Um anyway, things are built to like expire
That's
these
right.
days.
They certainly are.
And so, but back in the day, things were just made because people didn't want to buy over and over and over again. They just built it well. And boy, I'm not going to be able to sleep if I can't think of that phrase. But that's, I mean, it's so great that you're repurposing that, you're giving it another life.
Yeah.
And you're giving it more stories.
Right. Yeah.
And you're making it beautiful, because I saw that huge armoire that you put in your kitchen, your dining room.
Yep.
And I saw the process because you were posting that as you were scraping the stain off or the paint off, and then you were putting fresh coats on. And then I got to see it in person. It's so gorgeous.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So I love the idea of repurposing. I literally just talked to a person this past week that is in interior design, and one of their plans is to just not buy new stuff for interior design, like buying on Facebook yard sale or the marketplace or Goodwill, and then paint it up or reupholster or something like that.
Right.
Like, these things are made really well. It's just not in fashion right now, so you fix it.
Right.
And then you've got good quality furniture or whatever, and it's not going to the landfill.
Right. I always like to even do this, Amy, is to think about it in a different way. I remember my son brought home an old beat up secretary that was thrown in the garbage. And he said, I knew if I didn't pick this up for you, you'd be angry if I told you about it later. And so that sat in my garage for years. And I always wanted a little library. And so I went out to the garage and I thought, I can repurpose this secretary into a little library. So that's exactly what I did. I'm all about upcycling anything I can possibly find. I collect old doors. If you ever see one, let me know. And I use them in my summer kitchen as doors on my cupboards. I've used them for headboards. And I think that it's just, again, it's a sense of history that we can add into our own homes and make it feel more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, there's so many things. But like in your tiny home, you have composting toilets.
Yep.
Which is fascinating. I wish that I wish that I had more time when I was there before, but I'll just have to do it again this year.
Yep.
But I'm just so curious, because you think about, my goodness, we don't have composting toilets, but every so often, the bathroom smells. But so do you have that with your composting toilets?
Not at all. So what we decided was this: we were going to purchase ready-made compost toilets. And because we are frugal, we knew what our budget was, and we were not going to go over that. If we were going to go, once we met that budget, we were just going to stop and save money and wait till we could afford whatever. So in the meantime, we knew we couldn't afford the $2,000 it cost for a compost toilet. And we decided to do with a DIY one, and it's called human manure. And I really researched it and talked to many different people that were doing it. And all it is, it cost me a total of, I think, $10. It is, we built a box
Mm.
and the height of a toilet, and underneath it is a 5-gallon bucket. And in that 5-gallon bucket, we have a compostable bag. And we put in woody pet, which, if you're familiar with woody pet, it's what you use for bedding for animals in barns. Very similar to wood pellets that you put in a pellet stove.
Okay.
We put that in first, and then we use cedar shavings. And that's all we do. And once you go, you just keep covering it up. And we actually change ours out every day, right? And we also have an outhouse there as well. We have a motto at the 207 Tiny House, and it is, when in doubt, take it out, right? So we have those, both of that option. And we have the same composting toilet in my outhouse as well. So it's very clean. There's absolutely no smell whatsoever, and really convenient, to the point where the following year, when I had saved the money, we actually decided that we were not going to go with a pre-made one. They're all made of plastic, which I really wasn't too fond of. Plus, they have some other features on them that just kind of grossed me out, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yep. Cool. And so I'm not going to go into that too far because it's just, I have too many questions. So let's see, Jenny, I did want to say, so when I was at your place, you had given me this tip that I just thought was genius. And I will say I have not tried it yet. But you had said to put a packet of yeast in your septic, like down your toilet, yep, every month instead of and you don't have to change, like, have your septic pumped
as much, right? What it does, it actually produces good bacteria, and that's a good thing. It's something that my family has always done. We always had a septic tank growing up in New York, and it's just something that everybody there does. And it really cuts down on having to have it pumped. Some people have to have theirs pumped often. And you do this, it just creates the good bacteria and eats up all the stuff that's not supposed to be there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like things like that should be just taught, like, in school or somewhere. Right. I don't know. We had this really crazy year this past year where we learned so much about our house that we've been in for 15 years.
Right.
Like I learned that from you about the septic, but also like our water pump. Apparently you're supposed to have the air pressure checked every year. And we never did it in 15 years. And so it just was crazy. The things that we learned were just like, there should be a book when you're buying a house, or,
absolutely,
there should be a book so that people don't do dumb things like me. Anyway, I think that we should probably save that 23 frugal things for another time and just do this again, because
I think that's lovely.
It's big. Yeah. It's big. And I know that it's getting to be dinner time, but so I do want to ask you, Jenny, when I say the word sustainability, what does that mean to you?
I guess it would mean this to me. I knew growing up, in order for us to be debt free, we had to live like no one else so we could have the life no one else was able to afford. And being sustainable is just really the way we respect just Mother Earth, right? It's how we respect ourselves. I think we've given away that to America. We become such disposable people. I'm glad that it's becoming in fashion. For years, I haven't used paper towels in 35 years. And people would come over and be like, where's your paper towels? And I'm like, oh, there's a bag of rags right there. And they'd be like, oh, and it's important for us to be good stewards truly of what God gave us.
Hmm.
And if we all don't start becoming really great stewards of the land and what we have, we're not going to have this for a very long time. We have to learn from our ancestors and how they did it and how they gave us a beautiful planet.
Hmm.
And we want to be able to give our children and our children's children a beautiful planet. So I really feel it's more about something we should all be doing. And that's important to me.
Right. That's beautiful. And so just on to that point, Jenny, so you are repurposing, you are very thrifty, you are gardening, you're doing all these super crafty things. And you have that mindset of respect, which I think is beautiful. Do you feel like you are missing out on life? Like, do you
No,
feel like you're missing out?
no, not at all. There's a difference between um, being frugal and celebrating every moment of your life. And that is what we have to get back to, a place where game night at home is a celebration versus going out to dinner and spending $200 on a dinner, right? It's about celebrating the small things that we have in life and appreciating every single thing and having gratitude over that. And I think that when you start realizing the small, simple things in life bring us the biggest joy, here in America, we all seem to be trying to chase happiness that's eluding everyone.
Mm.
And I do believe if we got back to simple, basic things, every night in the summertime, at 5 o'clock, we have a party. We go out, we start our little bonfire. I cook over an open fire. Those are the things that bring me joy. And it's not that going out to dinner isn't a wonderful treat, because that in itself is. And I really appreciate going to restaurants that are locally owned and supporting local owned businesses. I believe that that's where we should be pouring our money into.
Hmm.
But there's something about loving your family and being happy with what you have. And I think if we can find simple happiness, I think that that's where joy is.
Oh my gosh, yes. So instead of chasing something that may or may not ever happen, to appreciate what you have right now
That's
and
right. Yeah.
to love your life. I I love that. I mean, I just heard somebody said something like, what about being content with right now? Like where you're at right now, instead of always working for more and better. Um, just be content. But I think that's so perfect. I think it's beautiful. Um, and then let's see. So how can people find you, either the farm or
Yep.
the tiny house, if
Yeah.
somebody is interested in checking out these composting toilets and the
Yep.
beautiful lawn, and maybe have a bonfire with you in the evening?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How can people find you or follow you?
Absolutely. So I have two Instagram accounts. Both of them are linked. You can just go to either one and find the other. One is called On My Gourd Farm, and the other one is called 207 Tiny House. And I hope people go there. If you're interested in renting my tiny house, please go and leave me a message. We're going to do it by private bookings this year versus maybe one of the large formats, just to kind of see how that works for us.
Hmm.
I'll be giving sauerkraut classes here come springtime. I hope that people would join me for that. I have some family recipes from the old country that I'll be sharing with people and how to use their sauerkraut. I have a Facebook page. Um, and I would just encourage somebody, if they have a question, to please just even message me. I love making new friends, and I'm enjoying just meeting new people.
And you have so much to share about the sauerkraut. I was thinking when you were saying you have a party every night in the bonfire. I remember you said that you have like a sauerkraut party, and is it
I
October?
do.
The end of October?
No, actually, it's not in October. I
Oh,
right about July. My
oh,
cabbage comes in big, And it's one of the things I grow here, and it grows really well in my soil. And I have a party called Cabbage on the Porch every single year. And I have 8 or 9 people that I do not know. And I invite them to my porch, and I make them a traditional German dinner with cabbage rolls with my homemade sauerkraut, and just get to know people and just kind of share that experience and share my farm and really the joy that it's brought us in wanting to extend that to other people. And that's sort of where my class is going to be, because people wanted to know, well, wow, they've never had sauerkraut and cabbage rolls. And so that is why I'm offering it this year as well.
And so that's, you said like the end of July? Is that, you said it comes in July, but
Well,
it takes a little bit to...
We will be I will be having many different sauerkraut classes, only because I had such a large amount of people who want to do it. So my first one, as soon as it gets warm, and it's, spring, we'll be starting in spring. And I'll be holding classes up to 6 people per class. And then my Cabbage on the Porch party actually will be in July.
Okay.
It is great because I have people wanting to come. There was one lady from Denmark and said, I would like to come. Can I be included? So it's just wonderful to meet new people with, from different places.
Is that Denmark, the country?
Denmark, the country.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is.
Is that, it's not a Dane thing. It's a German thing, which is not too far away, right? Sauerkraut.
Yeah.
And
I think it originated actually sauerkraut in China, but many, many European families make it.
Cool. And now more people are making it here because it's
absolutely so good for you.
So cheap.
Yeah.
But cool. All right. I totally forgot that was July. I don't know why I was thinking it was October. But anyway, you folks can rent the tiny house and in July maybe, and come to a sauerkraut party,
right?
And at the bonfire. But so I'm going to put all this information in the show notes, Jenny, and for everyone listening. And if you have any questions and you can't find Jenny, just look me up because I'm following Jenny. You can find her on any of my pages. And if you need to reach her and you can't, you can let me know and I'll reach her for you. But Jenny, thank you so much. I can't wait to now go over the 23 frugal things next time.
Absolutely.
But you are just such a wealth of knowledge, and I love that you're so easy about it, like not, preachy and stuff. It just comes so natural to you to teach and share, and I'm so grateful that we connected.
Yeah. Amy, just in closing, I just would like to say I had spoken to a young mother who was really just trying to be sustainable. And I said to her, like, don't sweat it. You do what you can do. And if you can't, you can't. And as long as you're doing something, something's better than nothing. Right. And we all have to start somewhere. And sometimes our lives get really hectic and we're not able to do certain things that we want to do. And that's okay, too. Right. Because your time comes in life where you're able to do what you really want to do.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's the, that's like the point of the podcast. Like, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to like move mountains, but if you're doing something, and it doesn't have to be huge, but it will feel good to do it and it will make a difference. It all adds up.
It certainly does.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So grateful for everything that you are and everything that you're doing. But anyway, I hope you have a great night.
Yep.
I'm going to stop recording here. I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
There'll come a day love and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the ache with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. When that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder,